Hello all, my name is Matt Self, and this is just a short little introductory video kind of explaining why I'm doing this. Give you a little background about myself and why I felt led to do this. I'm a 24 plus year veteran of the Air Force. I'm still currently serving. I'm married. Been married for almost 16 years. No, sorry, almost 17 years. That might get me in trouble. Um, got two kids. My son is 15. He is terminally ill. My daughter is 12, almost 13, and she is autistic. So we have a lot of stress in our life. Go figure. We operate at a level of stress that I didn't think was really possible several years ago. And yet we do it, and we do it every day. It doesn't change. It doesn't get less. It doesn't go away. And because of this, I acted like a fool, running away, rebelling, trying to hide from my responsibility for a period of time, and it caused a lot of trouble and a lot of anxiety. It caused a lot of heartache. I broke a lot of hearts that, quite simply, it was just stupidity on my part, 100%. I'm not going to get into all the details about it. Honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that eventually, when I bounced off rock bottom, I rebounded back to God and Jesus. And now that I have fully surrendered, I am telling everybody that will listen why this is important. I watch the Unashamed podcast with the Robertsons, and they ask three questions: Who are we? What are we doing here? And what happens when we die? And honestly, I think the last question, if you answer that question, it answers the other two questions as well. And what happens when we die? You go before God. And so you have a choice to either kneel before God now and accept Him as Lord, or kneel before God then and be eternally banished from His presence. So, anyway, that is the realization that I came to. I have fully surrendered and am 100% over the fence now. For a long time, I had kept a toe over the fence. And then, like I said, for a little while there, I ran screaming away from the fence. I have come back. I have completely burned the fence down, have no desire to get back over it, to straddle over it again. I decided that this is way more important than whatever inside me was keeping me on that side of the fence. So, what am I doing on YouTube? Well, I kind of felt led to just kind of start talking about God on YouTube. So, what I'm going to do every so often, we'll see how often it happens. As I mentioned, my life is kind of crazy, so I don't know how often I will be able to do that. My videos may get interrupted by a almost teenage autistic girl who's wanting to see what daddy is doing. And they may get interrupted by dogs who decide that it's time to bark at the mailman. So it just depends on what's going on in our life on that day. But that's part of it, right? That's part of our lives. That's who we are, and we got to accept it. So what I am going to do, at least initially, is just go over one verse and kind of talk about what it means to me, what I think what I think God is trying to say to us, and then we'll go from there. If we decide to get a little deeper, I don't want these videos to be super long. People tend to tune out once you get over a certain time, and so I want to keep them short, entertaining if possible, and really pertinent to what's going on in life. One thing that I have come to realize is joy is a decision, and you, despite your circumstances, you can have joy bubbling up inside you and coming out. No matter how hard your life is, no matter how bad your circumstances are, you may not be happy because happiness is tied to your circumstances, but you can still have an overwhelming amount of joy in your life, and that comes from deciding to fully surrender to God. And that doesn't make any sense. Surrender to win is never anything that makes any sense in any kind of war or any kind of anything, really. You don't surrender in order to win. But that is exactly what God is asking us to do, is to surrender to Him fully. And in that, we get great victory. So the verse I want to go over today is really, really simple. It is Romans 1:16. I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God. For salvation comes to everyone who for the salvation of everyone who believes, first the Jew, then the Gentile. So what does that verse mean? I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it is the power of God for the salvation of everyone who comes to it, first the Jew and then the Gentile. Well, what Paul was saying to the Romans right there is exactly what I'm trying to get across. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. I may have been at some time thinking that some persecution or some bad thing may happen to me, but in reality, even if I am tortured and murdered for my belief in Jesus, I still win. You got to look at things in light of eternity. If you look at things through the light of the world, and maybe we'll talk about this as we go along, if you look at things through the light of the world, all you see is pain and disappointment. But if you look at things through the light of eternity, this world is just a blip on the radar, and you are whatever persecution you may face will be nothing in light of the glorious eternity that we have to spend with God. So there's no reason to be ashamed of the gospel, because you have God's power before you, and it was given to us through the Jewish people, but it is now for everyone. And that includes me, that includes you. It doesn't matter how bad you screwed your life up. I screwed mine and my family's up pretty good, and it doesn't matter. God still, He died for us knowing how bad we would screw up, and yet He did it anyway in order to save us. So that's it. That's all I got for today. Like I said, quick introduction, why I'm doing this, and then a verse, and kind of talking about what it means to me, what I think Paul was trying to talk to the Romans about. Don't be ashamed of the gospel. It's got great power behind it, and in the end, it's really the only thing that matters. Hopefully you like this video, and I will continue to produce more of them, because in the end, it's all about getting the message out. Thank you very much.